Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are going to do something really cool. We're popping the hood on your own consciousness. Think of your brain like an incredibly powerful computer running a highly sophisticated operating system 24/7. Most of us, we go through our entire lives completely unaware of this hidden background software. But today, we're breaking down the actual literal psychology of how your brain constructs your daily experience moment by moment. So, right off the bat, I've got to ask you a pretty profound question. Do you see the world exactly as it is? I mean, we all kind of tend to believe our reality is perfectly objective, right? That we're just out here observing the cold, hard facts? Well, psychology tells a completely different story. What you and I call reality is actually a heavily edited broadcast. It is being continuously filtered, right this very second, through your past experiences, your deepest hidden insecurities, and your brain's absolute desperate need for safety. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it requires a massive shift in how we understand our own minds. Your mind doesn't just record information like a smartphone camera. It interprets, it filters, and it invents. It isn't just passively recording video footage of your life. It is an extremely active editor. It's constantly interpreting data, filtering out what it decides it doesn't want you to know, and, get this, inventing details out of thin air just to create a story that makes sense. Once you grasp these hidden internal mechanisms, you really start to see how your brain is continuously shaping the entire world around you.
Okay, let's dive into section 1, the illusion of reality, and how your brain actually processes basic data.
We can think of this whole process as the interpretive layer. See, your brain's background software has one prime directive, and that is to prioritize meaning over raw facts, always. And it pulls this off through something called context building. Basically, this is the mind's way of modeling your environment in advance by stitching separate, tiny signals into one giant pattern. Your brain is a master puzzle solver. It takes these seemingly random things, like, say, a slight attitude shift in your coworker's voice, or just a tiny pause in a conversation with a friend, and it instantly connects them into a cohesive pattern. It's building context before you're even consciously aware of what's happening. And it does this in 3 distinct, rapid-fire steps. First, it receives the raw data. Second, it rapidly applies that context we just talked about. And third, it creates meaning. Because of this background process humming along all the time, you aren't actually reacting to raw data. Like ever. You are reacting to the meaning your brain just assigned to that data. It is a fascinating, literally instantaneous edit of reality. Let's move to section 2 and see how this builds, the daytime noise filter, and how you manage these background processes. We've all been there. During the day, your brain has a very specific job to do. Keep you productive. To pull that off, it uses daily distractions, your work, your phone, just the general chaotic noise of life as a literal filter to actively suppress deeper, more complex emotions. But then, we hit 2 a.m. You're lying in bed, the house is completely quiet, and suddenly, your mind is just racing. Well, the psychology here is pretty eye-opening. You aren't suddenly thinking more at 2 a.m. Nope, the external noise has just finally stopped. Those unprocessed thoughts that your brain was actively editing out all day long, they're finally bubbling up to the surface. You're simply hearing the background software that was running the whole time. Moving right into section 3, identity and the unknown. This is all about protecting the ego and predicting the future. We are constantly filtering our reality through what psychologists call an identity lens. Your brain has an existing self-image, and its default setting is to simply reject any feedback that doesn't perfectly match it. Just look at the comparison on the slide here. Think about the raw data of an event. I made a mistake. That's the data. It's just a behavior. But look at how an insecure brain edits that reality. I am a mistake. See the huge difference there? If someone secretly harbors self-doubt, their brain will literally edit reality to find evidence supporting that doubt. It takes a simple, everyday error and transforms it into a permanent identity flaw. Actually, it'll even make a genuine compliment feel like a total lie. Instead of just seeing a behavior, the brain edits reality to show you evidence of who you already believe you are. And man, this editing process goes into absolute overdrive when we face the unknown, creating what's known as the imagination gap. Whenever you face a new relationship or a big new opportunity, there's a ton of uncertainty. And here's the thing. Your mind absolutely hates uncertainty. It despises it, so it fills in those gaps with fantasy. In those early stages of obsession, your mind starts conjuring up these highly rewarding future scenarios. You start replaying conversations in your head, tweaking what you said, imagining what they'll say.
And before you know it, you're attaching yourself to a completely imagined experience instead of the actual facts. Your brain is literally editing the present moment to match a future that it has completely invented. All right, section 4, the comfort of predictability and why your mental OS completely avoids system updates.
Why does your brain avoid making big life changes? Well, it has a massive safety bias. Scientifically, this is known as the mere exposure effect, the psychological tendency to prefer things simply because they feel familiar and predictable. And wow, is this an incredibly powerful edit. This effect can literally alter your perception of a terribly stagnant routine or a miserable low-paying job, making that familiar discomfort feel significantly safer and more attractive than the uncertain opportunity of actual positive change. Your brain edits the risk of the unknown to look way scarier than it actually is, strictly to keep you right where you are. Because to your brain, predictability is edited to look exactly like safety. Familiar equals surviving.
Finally, section 5, building your own reality. We're looking at system glitches and the final reboot.
So, what exactly happens when this highly active, always-on editing software glitches out? Well, there's this wild phenomenon known as sensory overlap. This is the ultimate glitch, and it happens during experiences like sleep paralysis. Your brain's dreaming system stays completely active, even though you are physically awake and conscious, lying right there in bed. And the brain physically projects these edits, spilling dream imagery right out into the room with you. We're talking visceral, terrifying hallucinations of dark figures standing in the corner, or the sound of whispers right next to your ear. And because you are physically awake, your brain processes these horrifying edits as completely objective reality. The fear feels intensely real because, to your brain, it is real. It's a stark, incredible reminder of just how powerful your brain's ability to overlay its internal state onto the external world truly is.
And that beautifully encapsulates our whole journey today. Reality isn't just something you passively observe. It is something you actively, constantly build. Once you understand these hidden patterns, the context building, the identity lens, the safety bias, you really begin to notice the invisible architecture of your entire life. If you want to keep exploring the fascinating psychology that shapes your everyday experience, make sure to stick around and follow along for more of these explainers. Thank you so much for learning with me today. So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. If your brain is actively building your reality, what reality are you choosing to build?